This is Squishy Games talking about their artistic vision for the game Rogue Invader. Talking about the monochromatic color palette challenges they faced using that, as well as 3D models coming to life into 2D environments. Take it away.
Well, hello, Indie Game Riot community, and I hope you all having a good day and had some really cool streams already. So we just hope to add right to that. I'm here with co-founder of Squishy Games, Lee J. Hinkle. Say hello, Lee J.
How's it going, guys?
You can all say yes into your microphones. We won't hear you, but we'll feel you. Anyway, just a little bit about ourselves. Quick introductions so we can get to goods. My name is Nathan Reese. I run a independent company called Squishy Animation, and off of that came Squishy Games. Let me just pull this up here quickly. In the meantime, let's go. Yes, I am looking forward to Battlefront, personally. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I'm kind of excited. I like Star Wars. Anyway, so we got Squishy Animation, and then Squishy Games was built off of Squishy Animation, and this is our first game that we're going to be presenting for you. It's called Rogue Invader. I had Lee J. I asked him to be my lead developer, head programmer, and surprisingly he said yes, so it's just us two. And well, that's a quick introduction. Let's go on to what the game is itself. Rogue Invader is a roguelike game that harkens back to the old Macintosh 1-bit graphics games that, well, both Lee J and I grew up with as kids. I used to have the old, black and white Mac, and, that was the only gaming I had. I think the games that come to mind is that I grew up on were like Dark Castle. We always make a joke, Stunt Copter. I don't know if anyone out there, shout us if you ever played Stunt Copter. Hours and hours of these games I shouldn't have put so many hours into. In any case, we wanted to make a game that harkened back to, went further back from the 8-bit pixel art games that we're seeing. There's so many awesome pixel art games. But I didn't grow up with those pixel art games. My mom and dad, they didn't have me have a Nintendo at the house or anything. It actually forced me to be kind of creative and go outside and things like that. But that still didn't stop me from loving games. But all I had was my Mac. And so when we wanted to build our game, we wanted to really make sure that it was just a 1-bit black and white game. But we have so many better game mechanics nowadays that we said, okay, we have to really put some good game mechanics into it. We don't want to really emulate how cumbersome those old games were to play. We want it just to be nice, smooth gameplay. And so we figured, well, you know what? If we're going to do that, why not just up the resolution also? I didn't want to keep it tied to that 9-inch black and white Mac screen. I wanted to our screen is that's just really small. If any of you out there have a mini VMAC emulator, you know how small that screen is. So we said, okay, let's go HD. Let's go like a high def. But at what size should we make this high def? We ended up at 1280 by 720. Any larger than that, you lost the pixel look, and it would just come out looking gray and too sharp. So 1280 by 720 was the nice sweet spot for an HD 1-bit game. And so that's kind of where we coined our whole marketing push of 1-bit HD to really explain our game. I want to go into I don't know how well this video is going to play. It won't play very well. We'll send you a link here of the original animation I did as a kid. I think we estimated I was 11 or 12 years old. Like I said, since I didn't have a game system and Nintendo in my house, all my friends got annoyed when I came over to their houses because all I wanted to do was play their Nintendo. but uh, I had I had an animation program on my old Mac called VideoWorks 2, and I animated with my cousin. We built games that we'd like to play, I guess, as kids that were never made, and we animated what those games would be like. So the link that we're sending you now is the first one, a Hillcrest. Yeah, that's the link that goes to the old animation that I made as a kid. And based on that animation, that was the inspiration for what Rogue Invader has become now. So I don't know if any of you are watching some of it right now or whatnot, but if you watch it, you basically it's a buddy picture. You have the two guys blown away aliens that look very much like Geiger's aliens from the movies. I love those aliens as a kid. So I put them in as a kid, but I gave them laser guns, so I thought that was cool. But we were talking like, why are these guys even on this alien planet blowing away aliens? Like, what's the purpose? Because as kids, we just wanted to blow away aliens. I'm like, sometimes you don't need an excuse in a game, but we figured, okay, let's try to make a narrative out of this. So what we came up with is the plot of Rogue Invader is that you are a fleet from Earth or the Terran colonies or whatnot, sent to the alien home planet to basically finish them off, destroy them, because you've been at war 20 years with them, a war that they started, and now you've pushed them back enough that you've reached their home planet. The problem is, all you're left with in your supply is one drop pod and one pistol. Like, everyone's lost supplies up till now. They're gone, they're used, destroyed, and that's all you have left. But your fleet has 1 million Marines at its disposal. So you're at the alien home planet, and you have to continue the invasion one Marine at a time. And so that's basically the plot of Rogue Invader, and that's what kind of makes it a roguelike. Because you hit the planet, and you have to gather resources on the planet, and then you can either use those resources while you're on the planet to survive and try to make it to the end with your Marine, or you can beam up those resources, weapons, things you find, in order to aid the next Marine that's going to come down. It's kind of a dark satire in that way of sacrificial Marines in order to finish this, but it's all for the glory and the future of the Terran race. So I think does that cover mostly everything there, Lee J, for our plot?
Yeah, I think that was a nice introduction, and people are starting to ask about how we made it. So
okay, yeah, let's get the good stuff then. So how we made it. So as you see with most pixel art games, that's a lot of work for how many sprites in the animations that each one has. Some of my favorite pixel art games out there, FTL, okay, excellent, and also Rogue Legacy. If you look at the animation, there's not too many frames in each of the sprites, which is great because that's the whole idea of pixel art. But with this, we wanted to go. I really wanted to push this smooth animation. I mean, animation is what I do, so I really wanted to kind of push how far we could go with it. And so my main program I'm using, as I switch over here, is I'm using Lightwave. And I'm just gonna do a little plug here. Lightwave versus Maya versus 3D Studio Max. Softamas, may she rest in peace. If any of you are familiar with those 3D applications, some might argue, well, why aren't you using Maya? Why aren't you using this? Most of it comes down to price. Maya is really expensive, and even though it is very powerful, it's better suited for a team. A large team of programmers, animators, lighters, etc. Right? Lightwave is very, very well suited for a small team, and we're talking a 2 to 4 man teams, such as that. And in the end, they're both tools. Use them for what they can do best. Blender is out there. Blender's actually got a great community behind it, and it's free. So it comes down to use whatever you have on hand the tool that suits you best. In my case, Lightwave has suited my company for the past 7 years, and now we're able to use it for our game. So, and really, a lot of these 3D apps, when you learn one, it's easy to learn all the others, because in the end, all comes down to manipulating polygon, NURBs, whatnot. And it's just your creativity is the only thing that'll hold you back, really. So you can use really any program. So what we're looking at is Lightwave here. So we needed a main character, a main soldier going down on the planet. And so let's see how quick this is refreshing here. I think I'm about 6 seconds behind. So I'll be sure to go. There we go. Go slow enough so it catches up.
It's able to stick with you, but you should be able to go at speed, and they should be able to keep up the discussions. Just
Yeah.
6
Okay.
seconds behind.
Yeah. Anyway, so here we go. So we developed a soldier, and I actually have this soldier, and I also have the female soldier, which is they're basically the same size, so I can use the same rig on them. Not fun to have to re-rig it for no apparent reason. Her face is really bright because we had some odd artifacts and stuff coming out when we were rendering it. But anyway, so we have these two soldiers to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to layout now. And as we can see here, I don't know how well this is going to show on the stream. So I'll just kind of flip through. I have an animated guy running with his rifle, which is one of the miniguns that we have in our game. And we have about, well, looks like, yeah, about 23 frames for a run cycle.
It's showing well.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. All right, so we have a running guy. Now, these 3D apps are built to really look nice. You have anti-aliasing, high textures, everything. But we had to get rid of that. We had to try to boil it down to only two, black and white, off and on. But I also wanted to get the dithering effect. I guess, a lot of you are probably familiar with Atkinson dithering, which is basically when you take black and white pixels and how close you put them together in like a checker format and such, and how much you space them. From far away, it kind of looks like a gray or a gradient effect. And so we kind of had to get that too. So the basic model, as you can see, we have some nice lighting. We have some, there's some shadow and stuff like that. Like initially, I just turned off all shadow, all lighting. So if I turn on the VPR, which is the virtual preview render, this shows you how it's going to render out as. There it goes. Perfect. Mm-hmm. What basically the simplest approach to this is just apply a toon shader to the model, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with a lot of toon shaders out there and such. And this is just a simple 3-shade toon shader. You get the white, mid gray, and then the dark gray, and then just the black. I have the lines drawing black through Lightwave. It can draw lines based on polygons, based on edges, things like that. So when I render it, this should be fun. There it is. You see how small that is? I'll blow that up for you. So that's our actual sprite, straight out of Lightwave. Pretty good. First, and another thing you see, there's no anti-aliasing at all. Like, we killed that, so we can get that. Surprised I'm saying this. That nice jaggedy pixel look. So that's our one sprite, and that's really all it is. So I take that sprite and I'm able to render the whole thing out. Like, I already have it set up, so I'm just gonna click render here. Just a little F10, turn off render display, yes, and boom. Nice thing about such a simple model with no textures, it renders in no time. So any changes I need to make into the sprites, I can quickly change. All right, I'm going to switch over to Photoshop now. I guess if anyone has any questions about any part of this process, go ahead and just type it. Lee's watching. But I'm trying to get all this taken care of first, so then we can go back and we can focus on the other aspect. So I put there we go. So this is what we just rendered. You can kind of see, just quickly go through it. Yeah, looks nice and smooth. All right. So now we need to convert this to 1-bit because it still has grays in there. Let's open one up. Here we go. So there's a sprite we're working with. So if any of you are out there ever used the old Mac or Mac Paint back in the day, you were familiar with the different quote-unquote colors they had, which were just patterns that were, like I explained before, the different gradients, the Atkinson dithering types. I had to go back and recreate those myself because, hey, lo and behold, Photoshop doesn't come with them standard. And they are right here. If I go to my patterns, there we go. I'll hold that there for a sec. Okay, so there they are. These are custom patterns based on the 1-bit dithering. That not all of them that came in Mac Paint, but these are the ones that worked best in our game. Just the spacing looked most comfortable to the eyes, and we tested a lot of them. And I'll tell you, the biggest risk we had going this game is like, will people get sick of even staring at it? Like it's a black and white, and there might be some artifacts or some flicker or whatnot. Will this hurt just to play? And so far we've been working on it for 6 months now. We haven't had any issues. So unless I don't know, maybe my eyes are going to go bad, and then I'll have to apologize to you guys. Like, yeah, it's hard to play, but for so far, it's not. It's actually very comfortable. But I believe it's because we've chosen the right type of patterns and dithering effects, so it looks comfortable to the eyes. Anyway, so this gives you an example right here of the different patterns we have. The most used one is this checkerboard one with the white and black, and so each sprite, in order to change it, it's just simple as we take our magic wand tool, we select the color we want, and then I just shift F5 on my computer. I think that's the standard for Photoshop. You just fill it with a pattern, and I always go down to the checker, press OK, boom, there you go. And as for this back one, I believe we've chosen this darker one here. Okay. There we go. And it's really almost as simple as that. I mean, it looks this close. I mean, it looks terribly ugly. But in the game, the animations actually, I think that's why we pushed the animation so far. Why we made so many frames is so that it's like, no matter how jagged it looks, it's still smooth animation. You can tell what the character's doing. You can tell what's going on, and it directly references and homages the old black and white Mac games. So basically, this is what it would look like if a old black and white Mac game was made with modern graphics and modern era. So I have open here. You can see one of the parts of our level where I'm shifting from a low elevation to a high elevation, and it just kind of gives you an idea of the dithering effects that we're using. We have the sky. Going from a black to a white type dither. And that one, actually, I'm going to show you how to do that one, too, because that one you really can't do by hand. The soldier sprites, yes, because we're using the tune shader. But this one, I'm sure a lot of you out there are like, I already know what he's going to do. But simply enough, I'll just open up a new one here. Let's go with 1,000 by, let's go 200. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I should probably go 1,000, not 100. Okay. All right. So I'm just take the gradient tool, and we're just gonna say we want the sky to look like that. And the nice thing about Photoshop is they have this thing right here in the image mode. You have bitmap. I'm not sure a lot of people use that, but it's still there. But basically, it breaks it down to, lo and behold, a black and white bitmap, right? So it always has to start from grayscale, I believe. Like if it's RGB color, it'll say, hey, you need, bitmap will be unselectable, so you have to turn to grayscale first. But when you click bitmap, there's a few options here. The resolution, I'm running at 72 DPI, just 72. Now the method we're using, return to the Oberdin. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of different options you can use here. The one I use that I found best for the sky is a halftone screen. And if you want to see all the different uses of them, you just got to go and try them yourself. Just make a nice gradient effect. Try each of them and see what they do. You press OK. Frequency 145, shape round. That's kind of like the default. Just press OK, and boom! Look at that. You have a nice dithered gradient that's now completely black and white pixels. And so that's how we're able to pull off our sky. So yeah, Photoshop still has some tricks up its sleeve when it comes to this. Okay. Now, one last thing before I kind of finish up here is that each of these sprites, like you saw, I don't want to have to go in and do this by hand, each and every one, because that's a lot of sprites. That's what, 23 frames just for that run animation, and that's only going in the east direction. There's, we have 8 directions. You've got the north, northeast, all the way 8 directions, right? So that's 23 times 8, right? That's a lot. So if any of you know about droplets in Photoshop, this is a lifesaver. Basically what you do, and if you want me to actually go through and do it, I could, but it's easier just to explain. If you go to your actions and you make a new action here, and you call it run animation conversion or something, right? You see this little red button down here. It's actually recording everything that I do from now on. And so I can draw like this, that, and a smiley face. And then I can take the marquee tool and delete that. And if you see down here, it is recording select pencil, set foreground, set selection, delete. It's recording everything I'm doing. And once I do that action, I can just press stop, and now I have a saved action called run animation conversion. And when you go down to automate and you go down to create droplet, you can see here, you can actually save this run animation. Oh, hold on. It's my presentation voice, because usually when I'm presenting, I'm running out of time. Anyway, you can create a droplet on your desktop, and I can just show you here. My droplets are right here. I'll just put that front and center. Alien torso crop is one of my droplets, and so if I drag an image onto there, and all I do is we'll get this out of the way. If you have your droplet on your desktop, you select all your images, drag them over, drop them on top, and you'll see that it's not correct, but it's running what I told it to do based on the alien torso. But it's basically cropping every single one of my images. And that's how I'm able to convert all of them. So I just convert one image once, save all those actions I did, and then just throw it on the droplet. So I don't have to go in there and do it by hand, because that's just too much work. I mean, for anyone, that's just crazy amount of work. And that's why I appreciate all the pixel artists out there. They're able to do all these things by hand. They have my respect. From an artist to an artist, they have my respect for all the work they do. There's a lot of good artists out there. So, yeah, props. Anyway, that kind of sums up our approach then with doing the graphics for Rogue Invader. Not all of them are made in 3D. Like, for example, these rocks that you see on my screen, I just did those by hand, because doing those type of rocks in a 3D program, that's a lot of work. Any organic or shaped rock like that it can easily be done, but can be even more easily be done just by doing it by hand. or heck, I even drew these rocks out by hand and scanned them in, and then I was just able to convert them over from the scan. So, anyway, I guess that's really kind of the presentation I wanted to give. I wanted to get through it to be able to allow time for any questions, and maybe show something more specific. So, what do we got here? Okay, how do you get better at modeling? Well, some lipstick helps. I've tried, didn't help me though. Yeah, I know, it's my bad try to joke. So modeling, I guess, what kind of modeling are you talking about? Organic modeling, like character, or more like machinery, weaponry, kind of more physical, hard modeling? Which type? So I'll switch over to Lightwave. More hard model. Okay, so let's go to Modeler then. I think the basic answer will be practice makes perfect, but a lot of the in the 3D community, a lot of the practices people do is they will do 2-hour modeling challenges. You basically challenge yourself. Oh yeah, and faces and people are very, very difficult. That's what I call organic modeling. And his face I built because I've had a lot of experience doing it. But the first time I built a face, it took me days. But now I've gotten to a part where like I understand the anatomy and such. So for example, hard modeling, take an object, for example, like you start with something that's sitting by your desk. Okay, your phone, your wallet, whatever, and take 2 hours and try to model it. Okay, and it's called a speed modeling challenge. Organic modeling, the thing you have to do is really you have to understand human anatomy first and foremost. I used to take figure drawing classes and such because in the industry, if you don't know how to properly draw a proportional human figure, the truth is not many people will respect you. So you definitely need to hide that if you don't know how to do it. But if you know how to do it, show it off. And that carries over into 3D modeling. I would begin with, for example, with a face, get a side profile and a front profile, load it into your 3D animation program. Like here, at the back of my screen, I could load a picture here. And then you use it kind of like as a trace. And then you just start to build from there. And it takes a while. But I think in the end, the answer to the question is practice makes perfect. But the speed modeling challenge probably is the best thing I've heard people do for hard modeling. Even some small organic modeling, if you have like a squishy ball or something like that on your desk, try to emulate it, try to recreate it, and just try to limit yourself to like 2 to 3 hours. Okay. Let's see. We have any other questions there up top? Okay. Yeah, monochromatic. It's all based on the old games I used to play on the Apple Macintosh. You know what? Here's something fun. Since you're looking at my screen, I can do this. Let me get a clear window here. Okay. This is fun. Okay. Okay. This is the actual on my monitor. This is the emulator I use, emulating the old Macintosh I used to use growing up. And let's throw on System 6. Okay, and let's just choose a game. I've collected some really old games back in the day. Here we go, Airborne. Oh, this one's classic. I don't know how well this is going to play, but oh, that one's not good. Yeah, that one's not going to work. Let me try another one here. Oh, we have Gauntlet. Oh, yeah. Oh, check this out. Oh, yeah, you're going to love this. All right. Okay. Anyone ever remember Gold Rush growing up? Look at those graphics. Yeah. So this is what I grew up on. Okay, now this is actually double the size of the actual screen, right? Anyway, so why the monochromatic look? It's for this purpose right here. It's to harken back to the old days of the 1-bit Macintosh games. So yeah, I was glad I'm able to show this off because this is classic right here. This is awesome. Game paused. Yeah, we'll get out of here. Okay. Okay. You have some great comments. Avatar level graphics, yes. Oh wow. But yeah, well, I grew up on Dark Castle, like we mentioned before, Stunt Copter, and a lot of those artists back there, that was their limit, and they came up with some really cool looking graphics based just on 1-bit, and I was really impressed with what those guys had to work with. I mean, because I think that like the Apple IIe and such still was, you still really couldn't get those good graphics, but once the Mac came out, it kind of let the artist free. Really, they could explode with a lot more possibilities of what they could do. Okay, let's see. Yes. What do we got? Do you start with a plane or base things off of simple polys? Ah, yes. Okay, good question. Great question. In fact, let me show you here. So, with organic modeling or with anything, start with your primitives, right? So let's for example, let's model a gun quickly, and I'll try to go slow enough here so it goes catches up well. But I think the stream's running pretty well. So you start with a block, okay? And you're just like, okay, I'm thinking I'll kind of want this as my gun chassis, right? And then I just put another box. Let's build maybe kind of the size of where the clip's gonna go, right? And you get your basic. What's important? Your proportions. Okay. Once the proportions look right, then you can start doing details. So, for example, for this clip. Even though I have this proportion, I want to detail it more. So I'm gonna put another box here, and this will be quick. Just kind of put some divisions in it, right? I'm gonna take the original box. Kind of get rid of that. Center this, and I'm going to work in pieces. So I'm gonna get rid of the chassis area. I'm just gonna focus on the clip, and then I'm going to start to just mold it into the shape I want. Maybe I want it to come down here a bit. I don't know what this clip's going to look like. We want to get some more detail in there. Let's see. Let's go ahead and cut this here. And might I also plug, I'm sure New Tech will love me for this, but like, Lightwave is probably still the fastest program I've found to model with. Maya is not the quickest with the model. A lot of companies actually, they will use Lightwave just purely for the modeling aspect, and then they'll bring it over to Maya and such in order to work with animation and such. Anyway, let me go ahead and turn on Wireshape. So you can see kind of what I'm doing here. Cut that up there. So just trying to build a clip, and you start with the primitives and you just cut into it. Think of it like if you're sculpting with clay or a block of wood. Start with a block of wood and then just start cutting away. And so yeah, I think I don't start with a plane. I always start with a primitive and then go from there. The only time I would start with a plane, let me switch back to the soldier here, is when working with faces. I will start with, even though this face is simple, I would start with, actually I could probably open up another one. But easily, the eyes, I'll get the shape of the eyes with just a planar object or 2 polygons, as you can see here. 4, because, I mirror it from left to right. Nose, and then mouth. If you get those lined up, The rest of the face comes pretty easily. Um, but these are the hardest. And so I don't have them connected. I usually like have these polygons separate and then I move them around, like, adjust them. It's kind of creepy. But I'll move them around until the proportions look right, and then I build the rest of the head around that. And one thing I learned quickly is the eyes are always halfway between the top of the head and the chin. I mean, with some variance, but so many times I see eyes like jammed way up high. And if you want an alien look, that's fine. But if you're going for human, start with the basics. Start with what you know. Anyway, that's a really good question. All right, we got another one there, Lee J. Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you very much for Takado for the comment there. Oh yes. Oberdin. So Lucas Pope, awesome guy. And in fact, we've already reached out to him just to kind of say, hey, you've inspired us to actually dive in and do a 1-bit game based on what he's doing with his 1-bit. Now he's building his completely in Unity, and what I love about it is it's fully 3D 1-bit. If you haven't checked it out, I'm sure most of you have here, but if you haven't, please do. It's amazing, because when I'm playing it, I'm like, this is exactly what I wish I had back when I was on my old Mac. These actual full 3D games with this much detail. I mean, it's excellent. Anyway, he said, hey, this is cool. What you guys are doing. And we've even had some comments online where on some of the articles where one of the commenters was like, oh, well, I hope Oberdin comes out so it doesn't look like Oberdin's ripping off Rogue Invader. And we responded back and said, we've actually already reached out to Lucas Pope, and it's not us trying to beat each other to the punch. It's more as we get to design awesome games using the 1-bit as an art direction. And that both games are really very different, and I will be purchasing Oberdin once it's done, because that game just looks super awesome. But yeah, definitely, we looked into how many games are out there that had the kind of the 1-bit approach. We couldn't find many, other than Oberdin's the big one, and I forget there's another one. It was like a dungeon crawler, but it really focused on the small screen. It's really cool that they were. I don't know. Does anyone know what that one was? No. It's out there. I thought it got greenlit, but I haven't really seen much of it lately. So, but those are the only ones I could find. Other than, there's another one that recently came out where you're like dropping down a pit, but it uses red in it also. So it's not true 1-bit, but it's got a cool graphic style. I forget what it's called though. Yeah, anyway, no, yeah, good questions, and love, I love what Lucas Pope was doing with the Oberdin. All right, we got any others up there? Okay. Yeah, you guys got to get me to stop talking. But more questions are good. Yeah, exactly. So I keep talking. Oh, tutorials, huh? If it all depends how Rogue Invader does, I would be more than happy to. I have learned a lot of tutorials, and I guess here's another plug. If you want to get into 3D, there's a lot of tutorials out there to really help you out. So with the question about modeling and such, you want to get better at that. I like, for example, Blender has a really great community, and there's a lot of good tutorials out that the people put out. And I've used a lot of tutorials myself. I've even paid for tutorials, and they've, it's almost like you almost don't need to go to school to do it, because in the end, it doesn't matter what grades you get. It's what you can do with your demo reel. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're in the school right now getting a degree, get it. It only helps you out, but it doesn't mean that you have to have a degree in order to be able to get into 3D design or 3D animation or anything like that. In the end, it's just your good hard work. So, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Tech. Yeah, some classes you go and you're just like, really, what are you teaching me? I know more of this stuff just by going from home and listening to tutorials. And the truth is, you can get a lot. I believe the classes I took, they taught us go out there and make sure you are learning on your own. But we're here to provide you the opportunities and the equipment you need to do your work, which is probably the best thing a class can do. Is just tell you where to find the information and give you access to everything you need. And then in the end, it's up to you. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. In response to Forgotten Dawn, this is not. Okay. That's an interesting question. Yes, this is the only project based on 1-bit besides the animations I've done in the past as a kid. But I guess I wouldn't call those projects. It's more just like get my thoughts out in my mind. No, my all my other projects I've done before. I'll just switch over to here my desktop, for example. This is what I do. Once my desktop comes up, there it goes. I do 3D animation, and so this is kind of like the level of work that I love doing. I like going all out, trying to make it look cool, building characters, such like that. But no, this is the first one we went with 1-bit, and so we were very cautious. But definitely Lucas Pope, him going all out and doing the 1-bit. That's what exactly. That was the point when we decided, let's try it. If Lucas Pope is gutsy enough to do it, then you know what, let's go that direction because it's what we want to do, and so that's where we're at right now.
So it's not the first thing we've done in animation. It's the first game.
Yeah, it's not the first thing in animation I've done. Like I said, I've run squishy animation independently for 7 years, but it's the first 1-bit that we've done. And in fact, this is our first video game that we've done. So I hope we know what we're doing. So many times we ask ourselves that question. But no, we've gotten great support, especially with the indie community. So we just say thank you to everyone. You guys are an amazing community.
All right,
Hey,
so we're just at about time here.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah, Josh and I know what's up. That
extremely informative.
seriously though, like with my very limited but clear understanding of 3D modeling, you have like changed how I view it, and that's like huge. Like it makes it's making me want to like actually like go out and boot up Maya again and be like, I want to mess with this and figure stuff out.
Oh, please do. Well, I hope that was the whole purpose. If anyone got anything out of it, is maybe a desire to actually jump in and to know that they can do it. So I'm glad.
Yeah, like, and like I'll be honest, I've seen so many tutorials online where it's just like, we're gonna do this. Start with this shape. Add these. Add this depth and move this here and move that there. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then you're just like, I just think of something, build basic shapes, and see how it turns out. I'm like, I can do that.
There you go. At Squishy Games Co. On Twitter.
I'm sorry about
the
problem with the stream there with the wrong Twitter handle and the right Twitter handle not being able to be shown. But
hold on,
I think it works out.
I gotta go. Real
quick. No problem.
All right, Josh is probably having a child emergency. Probably not an emergency. But yeah, guys, check it out. You can check them out at Squishy Games Co. on Twitter, or you can email them marketing@squishygames.com, squishygames.com for all that other stuff. Seriously, you should make tutorials. only because not only do I think you have a lot of talent, but you have a lot of talent to be able to do that.
Oh well, thank you very much.
And I'm a filmmaker, and like I listen to those things, and I watch like how things are composed, and this was really well composed, especially for being live. So.
Oh well, thank you very much. Yeah, just hoping just to give you a view on what we do, and hopefully, you got something helpful out of it. So thank you very
Definitely.
much.
This was, and make sure to check out Rogue Invader. Do you guys have a release date planned, or?
Well, it says here coming soon.
Okay, so soon. Yeah.
We do want to try to hit early winter.
Okay.
Before the big AAAs come out, so
Yeah.
that's kind of that's got our pull.
Where people haven't spent all their money on dumb things.
Yes, like
Yeah.
dumb things.
Yeah, like Battlefront. I was really excited, and they let me down. Anyway, thanks, guys. We're just waiting for Josh to get back so he can do all the call stuff, because that is what I do. That is not what I'm doing. I would switch to a different screen, but this is the one that we have set up. I think everybody in the chat can agree that was pretty awesome.
You guys are too kind. Well, I'll tell you, if Rogue Invader does well, then that would allow me time to do tutorials.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's
you guys
we are right now.
Yeah, I know how the time thing goes.
Yeah. But no, I think this is great. It's been fun seeing what you guys can do, and so yeah, just happy to contribute.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. So you guys can enjoy your day. Hopefully you'll stick around, have a good time. I don't know how call stuff works, so I couldn't.
Well,
tell you.
let's see. I mean, I could, until someone wants to change something, I can show off some other stuff, or just leave it at this screen. I don't know. Whatever.
Just leave it. You've done enough work.
Okay, I can stretch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just waiting for Josh to stop being dead, mostly, because I can't leave this screen because of the way that Open Broadcaster does things, and I don't have a splash screen to cut to. So, anybody have any last minute questions while Josh is attending to his wife and/or 2 children?
Yeah, looks.
Yeah, looks
Like I
like
said,
you answered all the questions. Yeah,
Yeah, I've talked too much.
you're thorough. You're thorough, and but concise, and it works out. Man, I'm excited. This is a really exciting game, especially in that style. Because like the first games I ever played were actually the first video game I ever played was Cyan's Manhole game when I was like a little kid.
Oh my gosh, Cyan! Yes.
Yeah, on the Macintosh.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And I remember it was in black and white, and it was 1-bit, or maybe slightly more, but it was very low poly, and I got it on Steam, and it's not the same. It's like colorful and newer, and I'm like, oh, what did you guys do?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's interesting. Like, I showed you that VMAC demo.
Yeah.
And it really playing those, there's a different feel. Like, so I was able to try out Wizardry 6 black and white, and they have Wizardry 6 on Steam now. I was thinking, like, maybe I'll get on Steam. But playing it in black and white, there's just a different feel, a retro feel to it.
That's sort of like
the real thing.
chunkiness. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not for everyone. We know this up front, black and white, not for everyone. And that's fine. It's just what we love about indie games is there's so many different styles out there that aren't afraid to be different, that aren't just think about AAA, and just to fit people's different likings. And so that they, in the end, so we all have fun with just these different styles. But yeah, definitely totally have that feeling of like, the feeling when you played in black and white, as opposed to an upgraded version or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like also with like the texturing, because the texturing, especially texturing technology now, is so far advanced from 20 years ago, and now we've got like super high, like ultra HD textures that you can get so close up that you could see Pluto in a pixel like from a mile away. But but there's something about the dithering and the textures that were present back then that is really appealing, and especially that's why I was really excited when Return of the Obra Dinn like first even crossed our radar, because we covered, I know we covered that game. let me just try to search our. I know we covered that game probably in like one of the first like 5 or 6 episodes of our show, like over a year ago, when it was just like ideas, and we like saw all the gifs that he was putting out, and like that's really cool. And then I was able to play the demo, and the demo gave me a headache, like probably the worst headache I've ever had playing a game. Unfortunately,
What was it? Was it the sky?
No, it was. I think it was the field of view mixed with the very slight mouse acceleration.
Oh, okay.
And it was just
Okay.
like playing with my head along with like all the texturing, but because like I would have wanted to get a wider field of view and maybe had a little bit less controlled mouse movement. I think it was. I think the speed on the mouse was a little too fast for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me it was his dithering in the sky, and he's
Oh, it
even
looks
mentioned
so
that it's
good.
like
But it
Yeah.
looks good. I will say that the sky dithering was a little jarring in contrast to like the more static nature of the ship.
yeah. But like he's even mentioned that he's like, yeah, I have to fix that, but like everything else was looking beautiful.
And like all the
just,
all the character models, all of the like the models for like the static models, everything just worked so well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and when you were mentioning, there's this something about the 1-bit dithering. I believe it comes to the point of it. I think the black and white sometimes allows your imagination to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And that can be sometimes that can be good. Sometimes people don't want to do that. It all depends. But for me, when I was playing those old games, I'd always imagine, oh, what was around that corner? What was over that hill that was in the background? But it's just this black and white pixeled image. Same thing with a lot of the 16-bit and 8-bit games. A lot of the times when I play those games and they have those really awesome backgrounds, like for example, like Donkey Kong, I'm like, man, I want to not just go left and right side scroller. I want to go back into the background and explore, because it looks so cool and inviting. And so I think the 1-bit did that for me when I was a kid. It just really got my imagination going, like, oh, what's around that corner, And so I think for me, that was the appeal also of those games. Everyone might be like, okay, he's just kind of weird. Yeah, it's true. But, for me, I think that's what was drawing to me for it.
Josh seems to have really disappeared.
I didn't want extra time. Thank you, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're all getting paid the same amount, which is nothing, so.
Yeah, exactly.
And luckily we do have a little bit of wiggle room because from here we go into we're going into another game exhibition where we talk about a bunch of games.
Cool.
So for those of you at home, that is what you got to look forward to. And then after those two, Tim Donnelly Time in the chat is going to be joining us for a talk about making your game and your dreams come true. And if any of you have seen the show and seen Tim on the show, you know that this guy's got a lot of personality, and he could talk from 8 until midnight. So we'll really have to. Yeah. Just waiting for Josh to get back because I don't know how to work the Skype. Does anybody have any questions?
I think they're probably anxious to move on to the next guy.
That's true. Okay.
Total numbers of viewers have dropped since we started talking.
Yeah.
Which is
That's what happens when I start talking.
Let's see. Oh, wait. Well, can't do that. Yeah, I can't like physically pull you guys out of the call without completely screwing up the stream. So there you go.
I can well, I can show some teasers, I guess, of some design that we're working on.
All right.
You can just look at it. There's
oh, that's cool.
There's our mini boss. We don't have the. There we go. That's secret
okay.
hole. Yes, you can fall down that hole. Feel free to try it.
Wow, it's so cool. Like seeing you. Did you design that background in 3D?
Yeah, that definitely in 3D. Just with all the different angles and stuff, it would be a headache to do it by hand.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you find like because do you find that doing this in 3D and then moving it into 2D an easier, faster process? Because you almost usually think that 3D animation tends to take longer than 2D animation, but
Well, it has its give and takes. See, that's the thing that a lot of people they're like, well, isn't 2D easier than 3D and such? And depending on the look you want, it all just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. A lot of people like the 3D because you reuse the characters, reuse the models. That's the benefit of it. But finding a way to be able to cross it it has saved me time in building this game.
yeah.
So that's why I'm doing 3D. Lee J actually mentioned that we should, just for fun until Josh gets back, I guess, I might as well just open up the carrier. We're kind of proud of our carrier model here. Capital ship carrier. Here we go. And so this is our main carrier that we launch from. I'll just leave it on screen here for a little while. But
Oh, that's cool.
it would be the thing is, I would love to put some awesome textures, lighting. I would love to see this thing in color HD. Okay, so I'm even kind of like bummed that I'm holding myself back with the art direction of one bit. I already want to though. Like if Rogue Invader does well, I would love to see where we can go then with, breaking out of the black and white and actually seeing what we can do with color and 3D. But have to start somewhere. But yeah, this gives an idea of just how I'm going to be reusing this carrier for multiple shots, and we already have it on the menu screen. But for cutscenes and stuff, I can just render it out, the whole cutscene, and then I just do the conversion with Photoshop.
That was my next question.
So
you guys just completely render. But how do you compile everything?
Oh, After Effects.
Real?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, that program is it's a must-have for anyone serious about video and post effects.
I actually am doing I've been doing like film and video work for like 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So like as soon as I learned how to do After Effects, like everyone was like, "Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that?" And then it's like,
Yes.
and like After Effects is the thing that'll like win you awards, not because like, oh yeah, I can do a lightning effect, but you can do like really subtle things in After Effects that you just can't do in a lot of NLEs like Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
and you can also animate just as good as Flash if you already have designed like sprite based frames. You can tween way better than a lot of programs. There's a lot of really powerful built-in magic that you can do with the effects and masks and keyframes and all the crazy stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can build a whole 2D animation straight out of After Effects if you really wanted to. So, yeah, After Effects is definitely. Some people also use Fusion. That's a good one too. But I mean, After Effects is the most compatible with, obviously, Adobe, Photoshop. Anything Adobe, it all works together. So,
and then that way you can also. Do you export? And this is just. I'm sorry if I'm losing the chat here, but do you export in like PNGs, or do you just edit? Or do you edit in After Effects through the Photoshop files?
Through the Photoshop files. So I render it out into the 2D.
Because you're using a lot of transparencies and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Alpha channel doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, Alpha channel PNG 32s. That's basically everything that we render out on.
Okay.
And then we throw it into After Effects, and then After Effects, reads PNG 32s just fine because it comes with the Alpha channel.
Yeah.
So that's the conversion. Yeah, we don't send anything straight from Lightwave into After Effects.
Well, I don't think it can handle it.
Actually, you can. There's a lot of plugins and even camera tracking. We can camera track through Lightwave straight into After Effects. It's really easy.
Oh yeah, the camera tracking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I use that a lot of just my contract work and such. So it's really nice. Like I say, After Effects is like a staple
Yeah.
if you're serious about any, well, really just anything,
Video.
film and also game.
The only hard
video.
thing is audio.
Oh yeah, that's why we are. Funny thing you mentioned that. We are going to be launching a Kickstarter in the upcoming month to be able to. Basically, it's so that we can get a nice composer.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a composer that we've mentioned, Caleb Blood, and good composers don't come cheap. Hey, they have to make the money too,
Yeah.
And well, with I don't want to mean cheap, but like with the compositions and the music that we want, which is going to be more orchestral, more high cinematic type music. That is going to cost money, and some people ask, well, do you want to go with kind of like the 8-bit music and sounds? Like we could, and there's a lot of great composers out there that can compose in 8-bit and 16-bit. They're awesome to be able to get these like really catchy tunes with a limited music palette. But we want to go full epic score just because that's the game I would want to play. For me, it's like
Super
I want Rogue
smooth
Invader sound like
animation, the nostalgia of the 1-bit rendering, and then good music.
Yeah,
Not coming
exactly.
from a sound card installed in a tower that's under your desk.
Remember those days. Friend got the new Sound Blaster Pro, and we're just like, I can't know these games sounded so good.
And you know what blows my mind is that I about 6 months ago I bought a sound card because I'd never had a sound card, and my motherboard sound was just absolute garbage. And like I'm looking at sound cards, and Sound Blaster is still a thing.
It is?
They're still making sound cards. Mind you, not sound cards with speakers on them, but yeah, and I was like, wow, Sound Blaster, is this thing from like the early 2000s, and it's just like released 2012? I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, they're still around. Hey,
Yeah.
props to them to staying alive.
Yeah, seriously. So, Rev, if you're in the chat, have you heard anything from Josh? Has he been on Twitter? Is that... We seem to have completely lost Josh, which hurts things because he was sort of steering the ship. And now we're slowly careening into questionable waters. Because I mean, like, I can talk video editing and compiling all day. It's what I do. Yeah, he'll be back.
You're among friend with me.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of our viewers though.
Yeah, definitely. It always sucks because like I'm always looking for like, it's like, hey, you need an editor? I'm good at editing. Just give me your footage. And everyone's like, no, I can do it myself. And then you see it, and it's just like, oh, you couldn't do it yourself.
Like,
you couldn't do it.
That's the epic Picard facepalm.
Yeah.
You're just like, look, we love your effort, but give it to someone that knows what they're doing, and it's going to be night and day.
It's the common creative problem of, I have an idea, I think that I can do this is my idea, I want to do everything I can possibly do with it, and no one, even somebody better than me, can do it better. And learning and accepting that yes, it's your idea, but you might not be able to do something as well as somebody else is like a really big step in being able to make something.
I think that the first step in being successful is humility.
Yeah, and then believing in what you want to do.
Right. There is a benefit, and this is the thing. This is why I think school, one of the biggest things you can learn from school is just communication. Okay. Even if the other classes suck and things like that, learn to communicate with others.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you want your idea to go well, but you don't have the skills to do it, you need to properly communicate exactly what you're thinking to whoever's doing your project. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Lee J's working on the programming for Rogue Invader. I have to clearly communicate what's in my mind because I'm seeing all this cool stuff in my mind, but you have to be able to tell your programmer, exactly what you want so that he knows how to implement it. And that's not easy. you know. But learning to do it and learning to like explain things, draw things out, things like that, then your project will come to life as exactly as you want it.
Yeah.
But the hard part is so many people get frustrated, like, oh, you can't see what's in my mind. I'm getting frustrated with you, and a lot of, like, I want to say Hollywood directors might have that issue with them. And so, like, as a director,
yeah.
you really have to be patient, calm, and be able to explain exactly what you need for your vision, and not get frustrated because people can't see what's in your mind. So
Yep.
that's definitely a big lesson. I think that definitely any schooling, any public school, or like any classroom setting really helps. Is just talking with other people.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You don't even have to like know what you're talking about, because I've even collaborated on like fun musical projects with a friend of mine, and and our communications, like all of the different files that would be sending back and forth to each other to edit, would be like ridiculous names. It'd be like, oh yeah, I know that one, or I know exactly what that is. And then I'm like, hey, at this part we need some like space sounds, but with some like whooshing and stuff. And he's like, I got it. And then like 5 minutes later, I get a file and I play it, and it's like it's like better than what I thought about in my head. But as long as you can convey something to somebody and have them understand it, like, problem solved.
If you meet someone that you work with that can, like, it's scary. If they can read your mind, keep them. Yeah. Keep them. You buy them pizza. You do anything to make them happy, because it's gold that they can get into your head so easily. It saves you so much time and effort and heartache.
I really I also find that never be afraid to walk away from a project that isn't worth the trouble. I know it sounds really bad, but I'm gonna use air quotes even though you guys can't see me. Consulting someone who I work with, who's been working on a game to be released on the Wii U, and the guy who's sort of like him and his friend like started it, and then his friend sort of like took off and really bad at communicating. And over the last few months, like every single time he talks about it, he's been like complaining about it and being like, this happened, like this is what's going on. It's like really stressful, like I don't understand, like I don't even feel like, and like we've lost people, we've gained people, we've lost people, and the people that we have are trying to steer everything in the wrong direction. And I'm like, dude, leave. Just stop. If you don't, Phoenix, my cat is on my keyboard. I'm sorry. Yeah, Forgotten Dawn. I have dealt with directors like that for films where, they're great friends. They're awesome to hang out with. As soon as you put them in a place where they are in charge, nothing gets done. The situation becomes absolutely not fun, not productive, and you just want to like shoot yourself in the head.
Yeah, and like, there have been some contracts where I've just said no to, just because it was either against, maybe like ethics, or even just like, I'm like, I know this is just going to be pain for me, and like, thankfully I had other contracts to work with. So, I mean, I would have to take on some just because there was nothing there. And I'm like, well, we need to pay the bills, but, there are others. Yeah. Just like, if it's just not up your alley, like, even though it might pay the bill, it may not even be worth it for you mentally. And I always feel that mental happiness is probably the most important before money, because obviously don't go starving, but if you love what you're doing, you're going to do a better job at it.
Yeah. And that isn't to say that a stressful environment is bad, because some of the best, like some of the best stuff, when people are pushing themselves and trying things that they've never tried before and learning about themselves and the group that they're working with, like that, like adversity can create the best out of the best out of creative people. Out of anybody.
And you're not going to avoid stress. Yeah. It's going to happen. And it's good that you learn how you deal with stress, because it ain't going away. It's going to be part of life, So, but there's some projects, you're right. You're just like, no, this isn't worth the time. I just know this is a bad deal,
Hey,
welcome back, Josh.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We've been talking and having a good time.
Just showing off stuff, you know.
Yeah,
A bit of an emergency.
that's okay. We understand.
The building was briefly on fire.
Really?
Oh.
Oh! In my head,
That's-
I don't think I said this, but I was just like, maybe his building caught on fire.
That's the excuse you always use when you drop out of StarCraft.
Fuck, Phoenix.
You're just like, oh, house on fire.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
That happened to.
The bottom apartment had a grease fire, but
Ooh,
luckily they got it out in time. But there was a lot of smoke.
shoot.
So-
Wow, that's scary.
The fire department slides back in. So
And you guys just have two little kids and smoke's.
yeah,
bad in
well,
general.
yeah, that's why we had to get everything.
Well,
Right now we
okay.
have all the windows in place and doors.
Well,
so.
that is probably the best reason of any to not be there. And you guys saw it live and got it
Live.
recorded. That's gonna be a really fun
So,
little moment.
I know we're supposed to be doing stuff. I still need to wrap up a few things
Okay.
with this. So I apologize, guys. Feel free to continue if you guys are, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, I'll be right. I'll be back.
All right.
Oh,
Wow.
Josh has to.
Yeah.
Josh has to do stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Then
I
we'll
have to help with
we'll
some
keep,
stuff. So
we'll
I'll be
keep
back.
talking about managing, managing people and stress and stuff. The basics. Tim's over there like rewriting his whole panel. He's like, "Shit, I was going to talk about that. Shit, I was going to talk about that."
Yeah, goodness. we should probably go to something else. Hey, what do you guys want us to talk about, huh? Oh, open forum, huh?
Yeah.
Quick, talk amongst yourselves.
Bring the sauce. Dealing with pricks. That's the topic.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. So I recently actually had an experience with dealing with those who are. In fact, Lee J did also. So I was
Self-important.
working. I'm sorry. What?
Self-important people.
Oh yeah. Web developer
Uh-oh.
that all talk, no show. And in fact, I even had to bring on Lee J. This was even before we started our game. I had to bring him on because I was doing the graphics for the website, and I'm trying to work with him, and he's a webmaster, and I'm just getting nothing back. He's talking about how he's doing all this great stuff and how he was doing all this work, but all the assets I sent to him, nothing back. He wasn't putting it online, and it was slowing me down. And so really, to deal with him, I brought on my own person. I went to the CEO and said, I'm going to bring on Lee J because he can get crap done, and it won't slow me down. And so once Lee J came on board, the webmaster kind of stepped it up a bit, and he got really kind of scared, so he tried to get some weird contract things signed. It didn't work in the end. In the end, though, we basically just reported to the CEO, hey, this is what's going on. This is why your website's taking so long. And the guy got fired, So it was I guess in my experience, it was first try to work with them.
Yep.
If there's an issue, talk with them like, hey, we need this. How come it's not happening? And then if it's not, I'm sorry. Some people might call it tattletelling, but no, you got to get your job done, and you can't let someone hold you back.
Money
Go
is
to
money.
the top, dude. Yeah. When he had something to tell me, never the other way around. Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, I hate that, Forgotten Dawn. I hate that.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Okay, here's the best advice I can give you, okay? And this was when I was going through the animation program, my education. And rule of thumb, when someone's giving you advice, okay, 90% of it is crap. It's pure crap, okay? And you're going to get a lot of that free advice. You just say, thank you, I'll log that away, or whatever you want to say, but just nothing rude, just say thank you, and you can forget about it. Because that won't fit your project. It doesn't even matter. They just want to hear this talk. But there's going to be 10% that's going to be gold that you didn't even think about. And you're going to be like, holy crap, that's excellent. We have to put that in the project or the animation or whatnot. Okay? So just smile at them, say, hey, thanks a lot. But in your mind, it's deleted.
To put that into a realistic perspective, that 90% is why Duke Nukem Forever never became a good game.
Yes, exactly. It's because they were listening to 90%, and well, not. I can names. I'm not going to name, but like, there's a lot of games where I felt were, fit that mold. Where just like, or actually even more so movies. I'm going to say it. Pirates 3. Okay, Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
Right.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yep.
Not enough people going, no, just go with the gold. Just everyone wanted a piece of it, and so they 90% of crap, and they threw it all in the movie. Okay, so that's
That's how I feel about all the new Batman movies.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah, a little disappointed in some of them. I mean, still, The Dark Knight was excellent,
Except for the fact that Christopher Nolan does not know how to pace a film. I'm like, I was watching that movie like in the theaters, like, and I in my head, as soon as it happened, I was just like, Act 1 is over, Act 2 has started, and then as soon as Act 2 ended, I was like, Act 2 is over, Act 3 has now started, and it was just like, come on.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, he's not perfect, out of any right, but
Yeah.
I do appreciate his work. He is better than a lot of others out there.
Yeah.
Michael Bay. And so it's like, yeah, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, even Steven Spielberg, he helped Crystal Skull, and it's just like, okay, no one's perfect. So.
I think my least favorite director is Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Now okay. So in that case, you kind of have to give props to Nolan a little bit.
Yep.
For trying to emulate him in Interstellar. It wasn't for everyone, but at least someone was gutsy enough to actually try something different.
That's true. The only reason I don't like Kubrick, I appreciate the quality of film that he makes. I appreciate his style and his talent. I don't appreciate, like, as somebody who has been in a directing position, I do not appreciate, and I find very, like, kind of not offensive, just like it puts a bad taste in my mouth when I just know that it's like, yeah, that shot took 4 days and everybody wanted to shoot themselves because this guy thought that it wasn't good enough.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, yeah, the shot's perfect, but at what cost? Like, mental, monetary, like, emotional. I can't fathom. I mean, obviously, if the shot's wrong, the shot's wrong. It needs to be redone. But, like, I don't know.
Well, yeah. Then in that case, some directors you don't ever want to work for.
Yeah, exactly.
James Cameron, for example. Well, yeah. So I think in answer to that question, working with those who are kind of annoying people, that's just you have confidence in your own work. You're going to have them, and you just have confidence in your own work, and just say, hey, thank you, keep a good relationship, but like you don't have to take them out for tea.
Yep.
And you definitely don't have to listen to anything they say.
And even going back to the 90% rule, that 90% rule also applies to any gamer who is saying that they want a certain game, and people then make that game because all these people who are like, I want this game, don't actually want that game.
No, they don't.
When they're like when I say I want to play, like my favorite genre of game is the adventure platformer like Ratchet & Clank or Jak and Daxter. I would love for a game, like, in my head, I would love for a game studio to make a game like that. But really, I just want to go downstairs and play Jak 2. Like, I don't want a new game. I just want that game forever. Make new things. Make, fun things. I mean, obviously be inspired by the past and have that, like, direct you in your design, but don't be afraid to move forward, try something scary and new, and, like, roll with it. Because, like, I don't know. Look, it's like clone games. I would actually love to see more games cut from the... Yeah, but see, okay, here's the problem with the Jak and Daxter series. I loved Naughty Dog. I loved them. I like, they were my company. I was like, I liked Crash Bandicoot. I liked the Jak series. I even liked Jak X, even though it wasn't the same. They changed the voice actors in 3 and X, and I wasn't crazy about that. And then they sold that series off to another development company, and I never played that game. And then they went to make Uncharted, and Uncharted, on its surface, is a really cool idea until you play it and you realize that they have sacrificed quality game response for realism. And which was, the movement at the time. It's the PlayStation 3. Everything looks so cool, but not being able to, like, properly judge where you're running and turning and like turning around. And like I spent like 10 minutes in this one part after I'd killed all the enemies, just like running back and forth and seeing how, like, just watching how long it took Nathan Drake to turn on his heel and like make a tiny little circle around, whereas like on the older games it's like they stop, their model takes a few steps to turn them around and they go straight back. And it's like the little things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, like I said, again, some people like those.
Yep,
you
that's
know,
true.
And so it's great that we have a plethora
Yes.
of, just different type of games that we can each like. But, I can definitely see you're just like, that's not the feel I want. It's too real. I just want something more reactive, and it's like, I totally get that. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting for Rogue Invader. I felt that aliens were turning too quickly with our alien AI, and so we actually have I think a half-second hold if they're changing like one 180 degrees, like, so it doesn't look like, as the player, you're like, well, that's not fair. Like, they just flip and they're gone. Yeah. But like, there's that slight hold. But what we didn't do was do an animation of them actually turning, in order to run, because just so we can get that kind of that nice twitchy feel, that kind of like, faster old game. Because I definitely get that then where you're coming from, because that's something we actually had to discuss and talk about. Yeah. And implement. Hopefully it works, though.
And I think it's also sort of a perspective of how, like, where indie devs are at the moment, because, like, in the first sort of, once indies started getting more into the public eye with games like Braid and more recently Shovel Knight and like these more retro styled games with the older graphics, like the NES and sort of SNES style graphics, that's because the people who are making those games grew up playing those games, just like how Rogue Invader is, you played on an old Mac and it was all dithered and 2D and awesome, and you're like, I want to recapture that. And so what I'm kind of hoping is that, like, my generation starts making the games that they grew up with. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that they're so much on the nostalgia train of, oh yeah, my dad played this game, I want to make this game because retro games are cool. Not like, oh, well, I really liked this snapshot in time of games where games were like this. I want to make something, styled after that, Maybe that's when the nostalgia train will hit me.
I think if you have a lot of younger game developers, they grew up in the 90s and such. And so, I mean, we just had Her Story come out, and that's a full motion video game. Well, full motion videos have always been joked as like, oh, that's a 90s gimmick, Yeah. But, it's actually got some pretty good reviews. And I'm like, oh, that's straight out of kind of the 90s, the FMV, full motion video. And, like, I'm sure some of these younger developers, the games they grew up with would be in that area, at the time of the 90s and such. And so that means that you'd have, like, the Nintendo 64, you'd have the older PlayStation. And so I'm thinking we might see some retro games kind of catch up to that point eventually.
The only hard thing is that those games are a lot harder to make.
It's true, though. I mean, like, 16-bit and 8-bit, it's not very difficult to make a basic platformer. Just to get the mechanics running and stuff like that. It's not too hard, but then you have to build off that, and that's where the difficulty comes on. But I mean, you're right. I mean, making a faux 64 and Nintendo 64 game, I mean, you have to get into 3D graphics now, and you have to limit yourself to certain polygons.
Yeah. And then you either have to use a pre-baked engine and tweak it to what you need to do, or completely write one yourself. And like we're moving in, like, nostalgically speaking, we're moving from the games that were developed by a small group of people who were very talented and used all the tools that they needed to do what they had to do with the hardware limitations. Now we're moving into
the best they could do.
Yeah, exactly. Now nostalgically speaking, we're moving into where teams had to get bigger, production costs had to get higher, the hardware was getting bigger and more powerful, and everything like just became more expensive, basically.
I'm here.
Welcome back, Josh.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Hopefully we've okay, I'm sure people are sick of my voice right now. I apologize, everyone. Thanks for sticking around.
No, it was great.
Well,
It was
thank
great
you
talking
for
to you. I think we
covering
had a
that
lot
time.
of really. Yeah, no, it's fine. I think we had a lot of great conversation and insight. Thank you for showing all this awesome stuff from your game. It seriously
Sure, no
looks
problem.
awesome. At Squishy Games Co. on Twitter and squishygames.com